It's a quiet night on military guard duty. Private Pyun Sang-ho is on late-night guard duty alongside another soldier. What begins as a quiet moment takes a sudden shift when the soldier casually mentions that he should have his mother send him a new pair of glasses. That seemingly harmless comment triggers a jarring flashback. In his mind, he's no longer standing watch. He's reliving the humiliation of a brutal hazing. Sergeant Ma, the ringleader of his tormentors, had once threatened him in a way that chilled him to the bone. Ma didn't just harass him physically, he mentally broke him down, threatening to cripple his mother and even claiming he had visited her shop, promising to wreck it once he was discharged. As if to hammer the point home, Ma mimicked a crippled person, hobbling while the others laughed. Snapping out of the memory in a frenzy, Pyun panics. He urgently asks his fellow soldier for his phone, desperate to call his mother and check on her safety. He tries to explain, stammering through a terrified warning that Sergeant Ma had threatened her, but the other soldier is unmoved. Annoyed and dismissive, he knocks on Pyun's helmet over and over, ordering him to pull himself together. The blows aren't just physical, they're demeaning, a loud reminder of the toxic environment they're in. But Pyun, overwhelmed with fear and panic, can't focus. He babbles, his words messy and incoherent, caught in a mental spiral. Tearfully, he begs, crushed under the weight of the idea that his mother might be harmed because of him. Instead of sympathy, he's struck again, hard enough that he slides down the wall, collapsing to the floor. The soldier crouches beside him, not to comfort but to scold, reminding him that Sergeant Ma is asleep and telling him to snap out of it yet again. But Pyun isn't really there anymore. He's sunken into a trance-like state, and what happens next is far from rational. Suddenly, Pyun reaches for the rifle. His eyes are hollow as he asks whether Sergeant Ma hasn't been discharged yet. Alarmed, the soldier demands he release the weapon and tries to wrestle it back. But Pyun's mind is made up. With a burst of unexpected strength and resolve, he overpowers the other soldier and throws him to the ground, knocking him unconscious. There's no hesitation now. Pyun straps on both rifles, his own and the one he took, and opens a supply box, retrieving a grenade. With eerie calm, he salutes the unconscious soldier like he's on a mission, monotone and robotic, stating flatly that he'll return once he finds Sergeant Ma. Determined and deadly, Pyun enters the break room where several of his fellow soldiers are sitting around, enjoying a meal. His presence immediately changes the energy in the room. Without preamble, he asks where Sergeant Ma is. The ones who used to bully him recognize an opportunity to assert dominance again. One scoffs at the absence of an honorific in his speech, acting offended despite being of equal rank. Another mocks his voice, feigning shock that he's even speaking at all. They're amused, finding entertainment in belittling him once more. But Pyun doesn't react the way he used to. He raises his rifle and points it directly at them. The room falls silent for a beat. Then, rather than fear, they burst into mocking laughter. One of them steps forward confidently, asking if Pyun really thinks he has the guts to pull the trigger. They surround him, closing in like predators, sizing up weak prey. One soldier even leans in, forcing the barrel against his own chest, daring Pyun to shoot, then slapping him across the face. He grabs Pyun by the collar, trying to shake him back to reality and asking if he wants to die. But Pyun doesn't flinch. He looks straight back at him, eyes unblinking. He lowers the gun momentarily and the others laugh again, pleased to see him seemingly back in his place. One of them pats his cheek mockingly, calling him Pyunkachu, the cruel nickname Sergeant Ma coined after a particularly humiliating incident. He forcefully tells him to get out. As Pyun walks away calmly, they go back to their food, laughing and calling him a loser. Their mockery is short-lived. A grenade suddenly rolls across the floor, landing at the foot of one of the bullies. He begins to shout, too late to stop what's coming. In a blinding flash, the grenade detonates. The explosion consumes the room, laughter replaced by chaos. Their arrogance and cruelty end in the same instant, silenced by the very person they had spent so long tormenting. Moving through the hallway as if on autopilot, Pyun mutters aloud that he can't take it anymore, that if he doesn't act, his mother will be hurt. As he continues forward, a soldier steps out of a room directly into his path. Pyun raises his rifle without hesitation and fires repeatedly, gunning the soldier down. His fear, anguish, and trauma have merged into a singular focus, finding and stopping Sergeant Ma. In one room, the gunfire rouses soldiers from their sleep. Confused and terrified, they try to make sense of the chaos. The group of frightened soldiers order No Tai Nam, another frequent victim of hazing, to go check on the situation. But Tai Nam curls up on his bed with his hands covering his ears, too traumatized to move. The others remain hidden, paralyzed by fear. Pyun methodically opens one room after another, seeking Sergeant Ma. Anyone he sees is shot on sight. He coldly states that Ma isn't there before moving to the next room. A few soldiers who step into the hallway are immediately gunned down. Pyun advances without mercy, determined to finish what he started. In Tai Nam's room, 3 other soldiers cautiously approach the door. An Soo-ho, who has tormented Tai-nam in the past, leads the group. When they open the door, they find Pyun standing there with his rifle raised. He calmly asks again if Sergeant Ma is inside. An Soo-ho demands to know if Pyun has lost his mind and yells at him to lower his weapon. Pyun, seemingly deranged, shouts Ma's name and mutters that he isn't here. He wonders aloud if Ma has already been discharged. Another soldier tries to calm him down, and someone from behind identifies himself as Sang-ho and suggests they talk it out. Pyun says that every time they were on guard duty together, he wanted to die. He declares that they are all the same and opens fire. The room erupts in chaos. Tai-nam is left sitting in shock, covered in his comrade's blood. Begging for his life, he pleads with Pyun to stop and come back to his senses. Pyun lowers his weapon and tells Tai-nam that he was the only one who ever treated him like a human being. He hands Tai-nam a rifle and tells him that since he was also abused by Sergeant Ma, he should help him in the search. After Pyun exits, Tai-nam scrambles to a fallen soldier's phone. With shaking hands, he manages to unlock it using the downed soldier's fingerprint and makes a desperate call to his mother, General No Hwa-young. She answers, and Tai-nam pleads for her to save him. Just before gunfire echoes through the phone, and the line cuts off. Alarmed, the general immediately calls in her aid. She confirms reports of gunfire from the division, and they rush to respond. Meanwhile, Pyun storms into the bathroom stalls, calling out for Sergeant Ma. He checks each one systematically. As he reaches the final stall, Ma suddenly kicks the door open, knocking Pyun back. He tries to flee, but Pyun shoots him in the leg, dropping him to the floor. Ma begins frantically apologizing. Pyun attempts to shoot again, but finds the magazine empty. Enraged, he begins beating Ma with the rifle, demanding that he swear never to harass his mother again. He only stops when armed soldiers arrive and place him under arrest. Elsewhere, soldiers burst into Tai-nam's room. He surrenders immediately, setting the gun down as instructed. He's taken into custody. General No Hwa-young arrives at the scene and begins questioning the soldiers. She speaks with Tai-nam and asks if he's responsible for the incident. He insists he didn't do it, and she consoles him as he breaks down in tears. Later, during questioning, Pyun remains silent. The prosecutor tells him his mother has arrived, and they share a tearful reunion. Though he begins to speak a little afterward, Pyun refuses to elaborate on what drove him, saying that offering a motive would only serve as an excuse. In the hospital, surviving soldiers begin blaming Sergeant Ma for the massacre. They accuse him of tormenting Pyun daily. Ma, unfazed, warns them to keep quiet, reminding them that they also participated in the hazing. He advises Tai-nam to stay silent, noting that any revelation would tarnish his mother's military reputation. Tai-nam, suffering from PTSD, is haunted by flashbacks. The sound of a wheeled gurney triggers memories of the shooting and of Pyun pointing a rifle at him. He is taken to a hospital room, deeply disturbed. General No Hwa-young questions a soldier who reveals that Pyun had filed multiple complaints about the bullying, but the measures taken were minimal. She sternly instructs him to deny any knowledge of hazing going forward. When questioned by the prosecutor, Tai-nam denies having any connection with Pyun. He also claims there was no bullying in the division. Sergeant Ma and the others corroborate this lie, hoping to avoid punishment. Ma assures them that there's no evidence as long as they stick to the story. Privately, Tai-nam recalls a conversation with his mother, where she instructed him to deny any hazing, to shift all the blame to Pyun, and protect her position. She even apologized for forcing him to serve in the military and promised to get him discharged and reinstated as chairman of the M Defense Company. Sergeant Ma, oblivious to the weight of his actions, keeps asking Tai-nam if he kept quiet. Tai-nam snaps when Ma tries to hit him. He lunges at Ma and starts choking him in a fit of rage, on the verge of a breakdown. Others pull him off as he mutters to himself on the floor. Meanwhile, the prosecutor hands Pyun a new pair of glasses sent by his mother. She notices the broken tape on his old ones and comments on it. Pyun quietly tells her that Tai-nam had fixed them when they snapped. This contradicts Tai-nam's earlier denial about being close to him. The prosecutor probes further, suspecting that Pyun spared Tai-nam because he wasn't part of the bullying. She tells him his motive matters because it shapes how people will see his mother. Pyun finally confesses he was relentlessly bullied. It began with Sergeant Ma and gradually involved everyone, some directly, others by laughing or ignoring his suffering. Even his superiors did nothing, leaving him in a living nightmare. In the hospital, the survivors watch news reports that portray them as victims and announce their promotion. They react with delight, while Tai-nam is haunted by guilt and the memory of Pyun. On the day of the trial, the survivors arrive in uniform. As they pass, Pyun is being led into the courtroom. He offers Tai-nam a gentle smile. Tai-nam remains silent, following the others. During the trial, the prosecutor recounts Pyun's actions and states that 13 soldiers died, with several others injured. The defense does not contest the charges, but cites hazing as the motive. The prosecutor, acknowledging this, calls the surviving soldiers as witnesses. Each one, including Tai Nam, denies the hazing. Sergeant Ma lies, claiming the deceased soldiers were innocent and that Pyun simply couldn't adjust to military life. From the gallery, General No Hwa Young smiles, clearly satisfied. But Tai Nam, overwhelmed by the flood of lies and injustice, breaks his silence. He shouts that there was bullying, grabs Ma by the collar, and demands the truth be told. Pulled away by the other soldiers, he continues yelling that Pyun must face punishment for the murders, but so should the rest of them for driving him to the edge. When the judge warns him to calm down, he calls out his mother, saying she made him lie to protect her status. He's forcibly removed from the courtroom. His mother, furious, storms out. In the final moments of the trial, Yoon is asked if he has any last words. He admits everything was his fault and stands to bow deeply to the families in the courtroom, offering a heartfelt apology. The prosecutor reflects on how the trial began with an assailant and ended with a victim. Despite the tragic circumstances, she insists the murders cannot be justified and recommends the highest penalty. The judge delivers the final verdict: execution. As the trial concludes, the soldiers involved in the hazing and the cover-up are taken into custody, and justice, however imperfect, begins to unfold.